Hi everyone, today just going to share with you my experience with this liquid cooler coming from PCCooler, known as the DS360. As you know that various brands have been manufacturing their own liquid AIO. So how does this unit compete with the rest in terms of performance and the aesthetic? A little history of how PCCooler is being formed as a overall for consumer products is by this industry company known as CPS. And this CPS, in fact, is an enterprise industry that does focus on manufacturing of electronics and thermal solutions for bigger companies. So this PCCooler is their consumer product under this company. Alright, with this said, I'd like to thank CPS to have provided this PCCooler for me to share with you guys. When you remove the whole unit off from the box, this is what you will see. The unit is protected by very thick foam, which you can see here, inclusive of what's in the package. And first off, you will be provided with the instruction manual, whereby it will show you all the accessories, which I'll show you later, how to mount the fans, the mounting for the Intel platform, and the AMD platform. And as for this, right, this is the instruction whereby it will instruct you where to download the application, whereby this pump block is able to display temperature. And inside this package, you'll be provided with 3 fans with the logo, and it's wrapped nicely with translucent bags. Nice touch. Inclusive of the radiator, also sealed with the translucent bag and the pump block, which I will go into detail, and of course the accessory box. This liquid AIO comes in 2 colors, black or white. Starting off with the measurements of the radiator, from here to here is 397mm, from here to here is 120mm, and the thickness of the radiator is at 27mm. If you were to add the radiator fans that comes with this liquid AIO, this is 25mm. So together with the radiator, it gives you a 52mm in thickness. The structure of the radiator is all aluminium, and it doesn't really flex, which is good. And at each side, you can see that there's a subtle logo which says CPS, and having some pattern imprints on the radiator from the front and from the back. Same goes to the other end. See, a subtle logo again, with the front with some pattern, and at the rear. As mentioned, these are all aluminium, and the fin stack for this is in fact 18 fins per inch. Next will be the hose itself. Now these hoses are nicely braided, whereby at the radiator end, right, these are not swivelable, else on the pump these are swivelable. Now something which I like about what they have done with the hose clip, you can see, right, let me just take out one. What I like about this clip, okay, besides the logo CPS, which you can't see, and some patterns over here, take a look at how they design it. See? So when you place your hose in this holder, right, it will hold in place. Else, for some of the liquid AIO that I've seen, right, they don't have this partition angle, or should I say slot. So when you plug this in, right, okay, let me see, yeah, that's right. Okay, when you plug this in, you can see that the holes, right, are being separated apart as in like uniform separated. See? So that this will not, it's like, imagine that you don't have this at all, right? This will just, sunk in. But else with this, right, when you stretch out, see, it's uniform. Pretty nice touch. Now coming to the pump itself, There is something unique about this pump, where right now it's actually protected by a plastic sheet to protect the acrylic, okay, be it this side, the black surface or the clear surface, which is nicely done. And there's this pattern of the cylinder, which you can see. They have really done into details, which is very nice. But of course, the rotation of this pump, right, is not this way. Instead, it's actually this way. So it's not this way, right? It's this way. For the pump measurements, I mean the block itself, from here to here and from here to here is at 73 millimeter. As for the thickness, from the top to the cold plate is at 66.5 millimeter. The locking mechanism, right, both on Intel and AMD, right, is using 2 push pins over here. And as for the connection, there are a total of 3 cables connected to this pump block. First, you have the 3-pin connector, which is for your pump. This will drive your pump to run at full speed. And the max speed of this pump is at 3200 RPM. And later I'll show you the noise of this pump, which is ramping up all the way to 3200 RPM. Next cable, you have this USB cable, whereby you plug it to your motherboard 2.0 header, and when you install the application, right, you'll be able to control the display over this side, where it shows you the temperature of the CPU. Last but not least, the 3-pin 5V argb connector, where you connect this to your motherboard using your motherboard argb utility to control the argb effects on the block, which I will show you again later. Next, I'd like to talk about the fans. You're provided with 3, which is meant for your 360 radiator. Now, the structure of the fan is very sturdy. See, it doesn't wobble. And best part of all, is straight without gaps. So when you daisy chain them together and to fit into your radiator, right, their maximum pressure of airflow to your radiator. So no gaps, no nothing. Now besides this, right, there are some design which is not very aggressive, very subtle, nice touch. And it's of 9 bladers. And based on the fact on each side, right, you have these rubber grommets on each 4 corners, nicely done. And as you can see, this is pretty short, so it allows you to daisy chain from one fan to another, which is making use of the standard 4-pin PWM connector to the socket. So as you daisy chain them, right, you don't have to worry about the cable mess, which is good. See? And over at this end, right, as mentioned to you, the accessory package, it comes with an extension. So you can use this to extend, plug this in, and to plug this directly to your motherboard. Now, next thing I'd like to talk about is, in fact, the design of the blade with the frame. As this cap over here, right, as you can see, though it's stealth black, right, but it's nicely done with a black chrome finish. And the blade itself is designed in a way known as the tri-axle dynamic calibrator or calibration, whereby it calibrates. There are some mechanism on this cap over here where it calibrates the fan blades, right? As you can see, right, if I will spin, right, see, it doesn't wobble, not at all. So bringing stability, and I believe this will dampen the noise. Since it's so stable, it doesn't wobble. So my guess, the characteristic of this fan noise is very quiet, and it doesn't give you a sharp pitch, which is good. Now the specs of this fans, right, in fact these are known as the F5 R120, but don't mistaken the R is reverse blade, it's not. So the intake of air is coming through the frame itself, not through the back. So the air is actually passing through here, as you can see the arrow. And besides this, the specs rated over here is 0.2 ampere. So if you daisy chain together, right, it's 0.6 ampere. So for a CPU fan header, right, they set for your motherboard which cater for 1 ampere, right, is more than enough to run this fans without any over limit and such. Besides this, the lowest RPM is at 500 and the highest RPM is 2200. And for the rest of the specs, right, you can check on my top right hand corner. And before I go on to the main unit, these are all fluid dynamic bearing fans. In this black box, it contains all these accessories and a very well thought of, as some of you might witness that when you unpack all these accessories, right, it may just fall off. Instead, they've lumped all this into this translucent Ziploc bag. Nice touch. Starting off with the left, where you can see AMD over here. Now this package contains the bracket for you to mount on your motherboard before you can mount your pump block to it. And this is the Intel bracket. Again, the package stated Intel. This is the backplate, which is mainly for Intel. Followed by these 3 bags. First off, you have the radiator screws. The short screws are meant for you to mount your radiator to your case, and the long screws are meant for you to mount your fan to the radiator. Next will be the standoff for 2011, as you can see over here, the socket, and followed by this. These are the standoffs where you make use of, be it whether Intel or AMD, which I will show you later. And you'll be provided with a tube of thermal paste known as the EX90, which I will apply this on the block and to test the performance, and the fan extension, which is 4-pin PWM. How to mount the block on AMD platform? Well, this support AM4 or AM5. The mounting mechanism is of the same. First off, you need to remove off these screws on the motherboard to take out these 2 brackets. Next, provided with the Liquid AIO are all these standoffs. There are a total of 4. And make sure that when you are mounting the standoffs screws, right, as you can see over here, this is indented in, okay, as compared to the other side. This is flat, so the flat should always face up, so that when this indent, right, will host to the thread on your motherboard. So let me just zoom in. So first thing to do is to mount this. As mentioned to you, make sure that the standoff, right, the flat surface over here is facing upwards. So you can just screw down. Just hand tight will do. So once you have done all the 4 ends, which I'm going to do right now, okay. Now, for this corner, right, some of the motherboards might be very tight, so you got to feather a bit. But for this, it's pretty spacious, so I don't have to worry. So something to look out for. When you're done mounting all the standoffs on the motherboard, next thing to do is to mount the mounting brackets. This is meant for AMD, and as you can see, right, there are arrows over here and arrows over here. So meaning to say you are supposed to place it this way, with the arrows facing in. So you got to place it this way. This is 1, and this is 2. The arrows are facing in, facing towards the processor. Next, with this mounting bolts, total of 4, just mount them on the standoff screws. And once you've done that, right, okay, we'll just do a quick one. Now at this point of time, right, you can make use of a screwdriver to tighten it, but not too tight. But for me, as illustration, I'm not going to use the screwdriver, just going to use it hand tight. So once you have this, right, next thing to do, apply thermal paste on your processor. Then once that's done, right, remember to remove off this plastic protection. then clean with alcohol. Oh, I forgot to mention, clean with alcohol first before you apply the thermal paste. Same goes to this cold plate here. When you remove off this plastic cover, right, make sure you clean the surface with alcohol, as when you remove off the plastic cover, right, there might be sticky residue on the cold plate. So it's best to use a wipe and with alcohol to wipe the surface. Once that's done, right, you can insert the whole block. You see these two locking pins, which is actually this and this. Align it to this screw over here. So assuming you have the thermal paste and such, you can just lock in place. See? And when you are doing this, right, when you're mounting this two pins to it, right, you don't have to worry that you will smudge your thermal paste. It won't be a mess. You can just align it. See, I've already aligned this. So holding it straight, best is that your palm, right, resting on the, when it's inside the case, right, rest your palm on the rear I/O, holding on to this, then use a screwdriver to screw both sides to tighten it. And do note that the orientation, right, make sure that the hose is actually facing towards the RAM itself. Then you start to connect with all this connection. Okay, I'm just going to leave it one side, assuming that it's already done. So what you need to do, right, first thing to do, the most important plug that you need is this 3-pin connector, which rotates your pump. So this 3-pin, right, make sure you connect it to the pump header, which I know the pump header is over here. It depends on your motherboard. It can be AIO dash pump, it can be water pump, or it can be pump fan. So make sure you connect this pump block connector, right, to the pump or AIO. Next will be this USB cable. Now this USB cable, right, you're supposed to plug at the bottom where you see over here your USB connector to here, which is below. Okay, this is very important as it will control the display as I install the application, and it will display over here. Without this cable plug, right, you can't display the temperature over here. Then last but not least, the argb connector, which is the 3-pin 5V. You can plug to any of the 3-pin 5V. For example, over here, right, I know that there is one at the top, but I'm not going to show you there. I'm not going to move about. So make sure that it's 3-pin 5V. See, this is 3-pin, this is 12-pin. Do not plug the 3-pin to the 12-pin. Alright, you will short your pump. So make sure you plug it to your 3-pin. This will control the argb effects of the pump block. And this is done. For Intel platform, it supports generation 6 all the way to generation 15. That's right, the future processor which is going to be out soon. And the way to mount it is pretty straightforward. First off, you will need to have this back plate. Now this back plate itself have a mechanism whereby you can swivel up or down. Now for the down portion is for the lower generation, else if you do push it out, this is for your 1700 or 1851, which is the latest Arrow Lake. So with this say, right, flip your motherboard to the back, align the hose to the board itself, turn over. Now let me just zoom in. Quite similar to what I've done with the AMD using the standoffs. Again, a warning on this, make sure that the flat surface, right, is facing upwards and the indent is facing downwards. So you can screw to the position. Now as you can see, right, I'm having problems with mounting the standoff because this corner over here is pretty tight, so it will take some time. Same goes to the top corner, so you need to do a little bit of fiddle. Now once you have done this, right, you should be doing hand tight, not too tight, and it's best that you mount this knot on a irregular ground. In fact, it's best to do this outside of the case and to mount it. So once you have done this, right, next thing you will need to do is to mount the brackets. Now these are the mounting brackets for Intel. Again with arrows. Now I know for Intel, right, it's actually a square, so you can mount it this way or mount it this way, but don't mount it this way, alright? It's going to be wrong. Make sure that your screw thread is one up, which is on the top VRM, and one down, which is near the M.2 slot. So make sure it's this way. And again, following the arrows, as you can see over here, right, the arrows pointing towards the processor. So this is how you mount it. And as a reminder, make sure that the thread screws are over here and not at the side here. If you're going to mount it this way, right, then your orientation of the block, right, will be this way. And if you have it this way, right, your display will be incorrect. So take note on this. Next thing, again, with the mounting board, fasten this. Just gonna do a quick one. Once you've done all this, right, but of course you can make you can make use of your screwdriver to screw it in so that it's firmly seated. Once it's done, right, again, clean your processor with alcohol, wipe it clean. Again, don't forget to, okay, let me just zoom out. Don't forget to remove off this plastic cover. Clean it with alcohol again, as mentioned. There might be residue when you peel off this cover. Then once you've done, right, you can align it similar to the AM4, or should I say the AM platform, right, or should I say AMD platform. So sorry about this. Now anchor to this two thread over here, to these 2 points, the mounting screws over here. Again, rest your palm. Now why do I say rest your palm on the VRM, the rear IO, right? You will have a stable grip of your block. So when you mount it in, right, okay, for example right now I'm mounting it, I place it to the position, see? You can rest your palm over here to have a stable grip on your block. Then you can screw it in. If not, if this is wobbling, right, you'll be having a hard time to screw your retention bolts to the motherboard. And sometimes you might just slip off and your screwdriver might just go deep to the PCB of your motherboard. So make sure that you rest properly at the rear VRM, hold it, and to screw it on. See, it's very easy. Okay, I can't see over that side, but assuming I'm doing it alternately. So once this is done, right, next thing to do, again, all this connection point, just gonna go through the motion with you. First thing is the 3-pin connector. This is for your palm. Connect to your palm header. Make sure this is on the palm header and not CPU fan or CPU op, or maybe system fan and such. Because the palm header on all motherboards, right, has a greater amperage. So at all times, park it to that. Next will be the argb connector. The 3-pin 5V. I will just this time connect to the top. And make sure it's 3-pin, right? It's not 4-pin. Once you've done this, right, last but not least is this, which is the which is over here, the USB connector to this. Now, previously when I showed you on AMD, right, I forgot to mention that there is one more connector you need to connect, which is your radiator fans. At this end, right, plug it to your CPU fan header, which is over here. To install the application, just head down to PCCooler.com, then click on AIO Liquid Cooler and select DS360. And on this page itself, click on download and to download this application. Once you have installed, you will be seeing this. So launch it and you have a simple interface. Now the only thing you can display on the AIO block is the temperature of your CPU. That's all. You can't change to anything else. It's just a very simple display. And if you want to display the temperature unit, right now in fact is Celsius on my lower right. See? So what you need to do is just to switch to Fahrenheit, and this will be in Fahrenheit. If you want to go back again to Celsius, just select Celsius. See, it's instant response. Now, as for the argb on the block itself, you will need to make use of your motherboard application. And it happened that this is a MSI board, so it's using it's using Mystic Light. Right now it's set to rainbow, so I can just select any if I like. If I have to set it to meteor and to apply, see, it reacts. Right now it's in meteor. Or you can do other colors or other patterns. Let's say breathing, I would to set probably, let's say, blue, and I apply. See, it will react as what you have set on the motherboard software application. Now to illustrate how loud this pump is. At the moment, my microphone is away from the pump, and this is how it sounds like. Now I'm going to move my microphone near to the pump, and this is how it sounds like. See, it's running on full load. In fact, I can't hear a thing. Now, based on the fact that I'm using a 7950X processor from AMD, at default settings, I've not done anything to the PVO2 and such, and I'm going to run Cinebench. At this moment, the fans are on idle, and this is how it sounds like. I'm going to run Cinebench, and you should be hearing the fans ramping up. See, that's where the fans ramp up, and this is going down on idle. As mentioned to you, this processor is running on default settings with no tweaks on the motherboard. This is at idle, the noise of the fans together with the pump, of course. I'm going to run Cinebench one more time. There you have it, the noise of the fan and the pump. In fact, it's very quiet. It doesn't give off a high-pitched noise from the fans, neither did the pump gargle that much. So it's very silent. And why I emphasize on this processor which is running on default, well, as you guys know that 7950X, right, if you were to put any cooler and such, right, the default, it will run till 95 degrees Celsius and so, but this AIO is able to sustain at 89 to 90 degrees Celsius at default. Now I'm going to run a full run with some tweaks and to show you the results. During the noise test, I've actually run the Cinebench and you have witnessed that the temperature is 88 degrees Celsius, and that is only a short run. If I were to run it at 10 minutes Cinebench run, that will be around 92 to 93 degrees Celsius. And based on the fact this is a 7950X processor, whereby I run everything by default, the only thing that I've set different is the UEFI, which is on the RAMs on the Expo profile. That's all I enabled when I run this test over here. Now, right now I am going to configure accordingly to what I've tested in my previous test, which is this liquid cooler, which is on another content. You can click on my top right hand corner and it will take you to the test for this. And why am I taking these readings on the past records to this test? Well, as mentioned to you, all these are with tweaks, as in like set on the PBO2. I will apply the same settings and everything the same, open bench and such. And these are the configuration. At the OC overclocking, right, besides setting the XMP, the X Pro profile, I've done the AMD overclocking, which is the precision boost overdrive. And these are the settings, which is same as what I've shown you on the 9 Liquid AIOs that I've tested. So these are the figures, which PVT 192 watt, TDC at 152 ampere, and EDC at 170 ampere. And also to configure the curve optimizer to -15. And that's all I've done. So with this said, right, let me take you, besides this, I did also done the offset, which is this, to 0.05 volt. Now, please note on this configuration are based on what I've tested on my previous content, which are the 9 Liquid AIO, okay, which is this. They are of the same configuration as what I've done with this Liquid AIO. What you see here is the actual recording from the 10 minutes run from Cinebench, and the method that I applied on this Liquid AIO, as in I tested, is similar to my past content of all the 9 AIOs, which is to run 30 minutes Cinebench run, then followed by a 5 minutes idle, and followed by the 10 minutes, which is what you see over here, the actual recording. Now do take note that in this test I'm using the Liquid AIO original thermal paste, or should I say that comes with this unit, which is the EX90 from PCCooler. So just to show you, as I run the 10 minutes, right, before I do so, right, just want to show you the short run, okay, which is 1 round. See, this is the result. And after which I've set to 30 minutes and I do the run again. Now, take note on the results that is before the 10 minutes is 35713, or should I say 35,713. And when I run, right, as usual, let it run. So it's running. Now I'm just going to pull to the last 2 minutes, which is somewhere around here. As I run this test, right, there will be time whereby the clock speed, right, will hit 5.1 and a max boost of 5.7 and above, as you can see over here on Cinebench, on hardware info. So it's pretty good. See, down here, right, the course itself, right, in fact is doing great. It's 5.2 or 5.175, which overall when you calculate it out, right, it's giving you hovering at 5 gigahertz, and the temperature is at 82 degrees Celsius. Now mind you, this is actually after tweak. Before tweak, at short run, right, it's 88 degrees Celsius by default. And if I were to run it 10 minutes or more, right, it should be hitting around 92 to 93 degrees. But after the tweaks I've done, which is on the PBO2, as you can see, the PBT 192, TDC 152, and EDC 170, and it's hovering the temperature at 82 degrees Celsius, inclusive of the curve optimizer, which is -15, and also the vCore offset to 0.05. So you can see that it's doing great, and the vCore, right, is not pulling a lot. In fact, it's hovering around 1.25, 1.3 and such, and it's sustained at this clock speed. And looking at the rest of the temperature, right, exclude the M.2. Reason being, right, because I broke the original armor shield, so that's why it's having a temperature of 51 degrees Celsius. If I were to compare this to the rest of the 9 Liquid AIO, right, the rest of the 9 Liquid AIO, in fact, is lesser than 51 degrees Celsius. In fact, it's around 48, 49. So exclude this, right? But the rest are doing fine. Things like the motherboard, where you can see system over here, see? The chipset, the MOSFET, the RAMs, and such. Pretty impressive. Now, coming to the end of the run, let me just drag all the way. Oops, over drag. Sorry about this. Okay, probably I'll let it run to show you the results. See, it's even more, 35K 877. So 35877 as compared to the initial start. See, it's 100 more, which is good. So this tells me that this Liquid AIO has the capability to cool down a 7950X processor. So for any 7000 series, right, I have no issues with using this Liquid AIO. Where does the PCCooler DS360 sit? There you have it. Sit right in the middle of the whole stack of all this Liquid AIO which I've tested on my previous content. And on my previous content, I mentioned that which you should be getting and which are mid-tier and which are okay, as you can see over here. The highlighted in light green, this is top tier. The dark green is mid-tier. The light blue is lower tier. And the last you should not be getting. This is in red, because the temperature is, to me, is pretty high. So if you run at default, right, you'll be even higher. Now, another thing to take note, which is not related to this PCCooler DS360, I find it amazing when I applied this EX90, this thermal paste, and to run this Cinebench. So I decided to test on two of my top Liquid AIO, which is the Galahad 2 Trinity Performance and the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3. As you can see, right, if you compare these stats alongside with my previous content, right, you will see a difference whereby when applying this thermal paste on this top tier Liquid AIO, it dropped in temperature, which is amazing. Not only that, it pulled more frequency, as in the clock speed, and also to lower down the temperature on the motherboard, the DDR5 RAMs, the slots itself and such, but not on the M.2. As mentioned to you, right, for the M.2, I have damaged my armor shield, so I use a third-party armor shield, or should I say heatsink. That's why the temperature is not really that great. But let's minus off the M.2. With this say, right, PCCooler DS360 liquid cooler is worth getting. And if you are able to get your hands on EX90, right, this thermal paste has something unique, which can really pull down the temperature this much. I'm quite impressed. My thoughts about this liquid cooler coming from PCCooler, known as the DS360. One sentence: well executed. Though there are some minor flaws, which I will talk about. Starting off with the fans, I just simply love this fan's design and the sound profile. It's so quiet, and best part is that you can daisy chain, as you can see over here, as there are short cables between each fans. So this makes cable management very tidy. In fact, you spend less time on the cable management, which is good. And if it's not long enough, they do provide you with the extension cable for you to plug and to plug to your motherboard. Now, speaking about the design of the fans itself, why I like it so much based on the fact that it's square. So when you piece up the rest of the fans and to mount to your radiator, right, there are no gaps in between. So air will not escape as there's no gaps. So full channel on the cool air through the fans and direct to your radiator pin stack, which is good. Another thing I like about this fans is the aerodynamics of it and the technology they have done. Why did I say so? Because as you can see, right, when I flip, right, by the way, when I flip, I can feel tons of air pushing out through here, which is good. And another thing is that this fans doesn't wobble, which I have predicted that the sound profile is very quiet. Indeed, it is. 3 fans ramping up at 2000 RPM, in my case, not 2200 RPM. It's so quiet, I can only hear a gentle hum. That's it. No high pitch, no high hiss and such. Well done. I believe that what they have designed on the cap itself, known as the child axle dynamic calibrator, which is good. As mentioned to you, right, see, it doesn't wobble. It's so stable. Now, next thing I like about this fans are the protection, or should I say the design cap at the back, where you have this brushed steel aluminium. I would suggest that if PCCooler can make another cap to place at the front, that would be perfect. Reason being, right, besides this fans that is provided in the Liquid AIO, right, I believe these are sold individually, as the model is F5R120. So if you were to do both sides, right, I believe people would purchase this on stealth build and just to place it in their case, and the aesthetic is there. So probably something you might want to think about. And earlier on I said that it draws tons of air based on the fact that it has 9 blades, but having 9 blades, right, without this stability, right, I don't think it will be quiet, and I don't think it will draw that much air. But for this case, fantastic. The aerodynamics, the design and the technology is great. I love these fans. But of course, for PCCooler, you might want to think about having these fans with argb. Though, as much as I like the stealth look, because your emphasis on this Liquid AIO is in fact on the pump block. That's why you're having black fans. But some prefer to have some lightings on the fans itself, so you may want to consider that. Now, moving on to the radiator itself and the pump. As mentioned, well executed. Why I say this is because when I light up this block itself, I am stunned with the design. Based on the fact that I make use of acrylic, I should say this is embossed area at the corners. So when it shines the argb, right, probably on my camera you can see it. When it shines, right, all these corners, right, will have a defined lighting lines. Very nice. Plus the fact that when I look at the side, the design that you have done, right, it does, I mean, the argb does reflect, which makes the whole unit looks very elegant. And best part, the display is very simple, just the CPU, I mean temperature readings. Now, some might want more, as in like CPU or GPU. So probably PCCooler should think about it. Maybe have an add-on to this cooler itself. I believe people will want it with both CPU and GPU temperature readings on the block itself. Now, something which I would like to suggest, based on the fact that this is acrylic, so there are bound to be fingerprints on it. Probably I would say that provide a microfiber cloth together with this Liquid AIO. So when people mount on it, right, see, take a look. See, there's some fingerprints on it. So you might want to provide cloth for PC builders, right, to clean off the fingerprints. And make sure it's microfiber, because if you want to use normal cloth, right, you might scratch the acrylic surface, which is bad. Another point is that the mechanism to mount both on AMD and Intel, though, is simple. Something which I realized that since this is acrylic, right, if you were to plug your screwdriver in, okay, and sometimes you might just slip and accidentally, right, you might scratch the top on this both ends. So I would say that it will be better if you to design the mounting mechanism on 4 ends. See, accident will be likely occurred this way, because in the middle, right, you are still touching the acrylic. So this is something to take note. Now, besides this, right, talking about the mounting, I would very much like PCCooler to consider this. These are the standoffs whereby you screw this to the motherboard. Kindly provide some washers, because when this mounting in, right, the strength of a PC builder, some is huge, some is okay, they know how to control, but those who does not know how to control, right, the standoff, this is made of metal, and when in contact with the PCB itself, right, on the motherboard, right, you might scratch the motherboard. So it's best that you can provide washers. This is one point. And for mounting of AMD, right, it's not a hassle. It's only on Intel, whereby you see the rear IO heatsink and the top VRM heatsink, right, that corner is very hard to screw this standoff in. It will be good if you can provide such tool, which I have drawn this off from another Liquid AIO. See, so it extended and you can just screw in instead of having your fingers to feather at the tight corner. So something you might want to think of. Now back to the AIO itself. I've done with the pump. Another next thing I like about what they have done is this clip over here to secure the tube of the radiator or hose of the radiator. As mentioned to you, right, this clip, they have a partition over here. So when you clip on to the tube, okay, which right now I'm clipping it on, when you comb the tube, it will be very uniform, parallel, due to the fact that you have a partition at the center. So when you comb this, right, see, it's uniform. So when you place this in the case, right, you will not have this kind of angles, weird angles on the tube, which makes the entire build ugly. So a very well thought mechanism that you have done. Kudos to PCCooler. This is very neat. I like it very much. Okay, besides this point, right, there is something which I would like to bring out and shock about the performance of this liquid cooler. I wasn't expected that when I mount this on a 7950X at default without any settings on PPO2 and such, only expo profile, it can hover at 88 degree temperature, or should I say Celsius, which if I were to, if I were to do a long run to 10 minutes or 30 minutes, right, probably it will just go 93 or 92 degrees Celsius, which is good. And mind you, I am testing this, I forgot to mention, at a 30 degree room temperature. Okay, no joke. So I was quite shocked with the default of what this liquid cooler can do. And besides this, another shock, I'm supposed to use a thermal pad to compare with my rest of the Liquid AIO, because the rest of the Liquid AIO I'm using the thermal pad instead of the thermal paste. But for this Liquid AIO, right, I just use this straight, which is the EX90. My goodness, this thermal paste was shocking, because I just want to test how good this thermal paste is. I took two of my top Liquid AIO and I used this thermal paste. I was having a great shock. In fact, it's like confirmation that this thermal paste, right, is really very good. And they do sell it separately if you guys choose to, use this. So this is actually my finding. So overall, I would say that this Liquid AIO does check out, and the price is right. Looking at Newegg, is at 149 USD, whereby if I were to take it as in like how they design the cooler wise, how the performance, right, it matches that price, which is well done. Now with this said, I'd like to thank PCCooler, or the company CPS, to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys, and I hope you guys have actually enjoyed what I've shared with you. And for those of you who are actually new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.